the premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes, live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes, and of course, I'm not alone in the studio. I'm not alone in the studio. Remix. I'm not alone in the studio. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim Jam. Hello.
Hey, Tony. What's going on?
It's been a while.
It has been. That's why we need the remix, because we got to change it up.
Remix. Yeah, no, it was a while. And the reason why it was a while is because work's been kind of crazy for your boy Tony, and that's okay because that's just life and things get thrown left and right at your boy, but we persevere and we're here right on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes as people climb into the chat, climb into the studio, ready to listen to Tony's Takes. If you're here for the first time, please make sure to subscribe. Especially if you're listening to us on YouTube, double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. In addition, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes and email the mailbag if you want your takes or opinions read on the show. The mailbag is tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. That's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. If you can't listen and write down at the same time, it's going across the ticker at the bottom of your screen. If you want to get the contact information, look at it and follow it. That's what I got to say about that. And on today's episode of Tony's Takes, we're talking about all things sports, as always. What else would we talk about? We're talking Sixers basketball, the Philadelphia Phillies and their struggles. We're talking NFL draft for next week. Eagles, also some Eagles talk along with that. And, of course, where we're going to start today's episode, just a little bit of St. Joe's basketball, because I got to update everyone on Billy, our boy Billy Lang, getting the recruits and doing everything he needs to do in order to put St. Joe's on the tippity top. And,
Billy.
oh yeah.
The biggie. Don't let me down, Billy. $30,000.
Don't let me down, Billy. Billy. Jimmy, you know what movie that's from?
Yeah, hit me with it.
Caddyshack? You never watched that?
Oh, yeah, I've seen Caddyshack.
Well, then you didn't remember that memorable
I've only
scene.
seen it one time.
So, same.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't clip it for the show.
No, you didn't. So we're gonna start real quick with some St. Joe's basketball because that's what I like to talk about the most. And St. Joe's recently got, his name is a player. He's transferring in, and his name is Kasper Klacek. Klacek. Klaczek. He's Polish. Not an easy name to pronounce, and I'm going to have to get used to saying it. He's 6'8", and has made his, this is according to PerspectiveInsight.com, quote, he has made his long-awaited college decision and has committed to St. Joseph's University. Sharp playmaking, relentless rebounding, versatile scoring, and a non-stop motor are standout traits for Klacek's game. He'll be making the transition to college from a top-notch high school program at Long Island Lutheran, where he plays with other top talents. So he is a recruit. I thought he was a transfer. He's a recruit. This week, Klacek spent some time chatting with Pro Insight's Jake Lieberman, breaking down the reasoning behind his decision to play for the Hawks. Okay, I'm not going to read it. But yeah, this kid's 6'8", and if you ever go on YouTube, which you're watching us on YouTube right now, but don't switch away from the show, please. After the show, go and look up this kid's highlights. He's 6'8". With the two centers that St. Joe's was able to recruit through the transfer market, and now this 6'8" player and Jordan Hall, and then our smallest player is going to be Eric Reynolds, the 5-star recruit, or he was former. It's funny, when Eric Reynolds came to St. Joe's or committed to St. Joe's, he was like a 5-star, 4-star recruit, and the minute he recruited to St. Joe's or committed there, his rating dropped. That's how these ratings work.
Interesting.
But he's still a 4-star recruit. You know, they can reduce his number all they want. That doesn't make him less of a player. And that's why we get so bogged down in the ratings. But St. Joe's, there's no denying this is a top 5 team. I know me and Jim said last year it was all about growth with St. Joe's. And we were right. At the end of the season, they played the way we always wanted them to play. They beat the teams we thought they should have beaten all year long, and they look like a better team. They look like a top 10 team, and that's what I had predicted in October of 2020. Now we're fast forward. Even with a bad record, we're going to keep beating this drum till next year at least. While the record wasn't good for St. Joe's, the team proved they had the talent that we all thought they had, and that the building blocks are there for St. Joe's basketball. There is no doubt about it. Okay, Ryan Daly leaves. But Billy Lang has replaced many great players so far. He's brought in 2 massive centers, 7 feet, 6'10". He's also brought in now a 6'8" player. Eric Reynolds is a 4-star recruit guard who can handle the ball, shoot off the dribble. We have guys like Ramir Moore and Cameron Brown getting better on the bench. Taylor Funk staying around, going to score even more points. I think Taylor Funk's still going to start, but at least we know that at worst case scenario, we have to put the biggest lineup possible out there. We can do it. We have the personnel to do it at St. Joe's. And so this recent signing of Casper, first name, of course, is just that much better to think about. And the signs are there. We are growing into the team we always thought we could be. Billy has proven that he can recruit. And this year, at the end of the season, he proved that when he has guys who are still buying in after all the losing that's going on, after we were proven that injuries were the reason why St. Joe's struggled for majority of the season, illness was the reason that they struggled for majority of the season. When that roster was healthy, the guys still bought in. After all of that hardship, they bought in, and when healthy, they went out and beat the teams they always thought they could dominate. And it gave me hope that Billy Lang can coach on the court, and the recruiting just keeps getting better and better. Billy Lang is a recruiter. He's the best recruiter in St. Joe since I think he might be a better recruiter than Phil Martelli. He's recruiting players off a losing record. Phil could barely recruit guys off a season full of wins in 2005.
Well,
that's how I know Billy's a better recruiter.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch, see this happening right now. One of the guys I wanted to ask you about was Charles Coleman. So he's transferred over, maybe within the last week or so?
Yep.
7-footer, like you mentioned. You said he got two 7-footers now.
He's the biggest guy, 7 feet, and then
is Anton 7 foot?
Yeah, but he's
I know he's still undersized as far as weight. And everything.
The guy from Vanderbilt is the 6'10" guy.
Okay, so Charles Coleman's like
he's the tallest,
240, 7 feet or something. Mm-hmm. That is going to change this team. The whole season, didn't we would always sigh when Anthony Longpre was going to come in, like. It would be like, oh man, now we need somebody that size to come in there and kind of grab rebounds for us or whatever, just to fill the space. But now we're actually going to have a player who led his team in blocks as a freshman, and is going to mesh really well with the other pieces around this team. I think we need somebody that's like 250 pounds and that big.
There's nothing in the conference like it.
No, it's going to be a complete game changer for St. Joe's next year.
But the other thing, I had tweeted this out and it got a lot of love, as all the fans at Tony States, they love the show. But this one got a little bit of, excuse me, I'm burping into the microphone. Excuse me, 1 second, Jim. This one got a little bit of love, a lot of love, actually. Scroll past my Formula One takes. Okay. I tweeted this out when Charles Coleman of East Carolina transferred to St. Joe's. Quote, Billy Lang is at it again. Think about how diverse the rotation can be. Want to go big? Throw in a 6'10" and 7-footer. Want to go small and fast? Put Hall in at center position with Reynolds, Demir Bishop, Brown, and Ramir Moore all around him. That's the small ball lineup. Lang has a lot of different looks he can throw out there. His recruiting is paying off. Jimmy, if he wants to go big, Taylor Funk, the 2 7-footers, Jordan Hall, Eric Reynolds, and guess what? That's still an athletic.
Oh, definitely.
Taylor Funk can play small forward. It's not a fast small forward. It's not a cutting small forward, but his ability to shoot spreads the court out at small forward.
But I'll tell you, after this last year with Taylor Funk, I have a lot more trust in him than I would have before.
100%. He's a much better player.
It's been cool to see this team develop, and I really do think that these additions, what Billy's doing is going to change everything. It's the whole team isn't going to be anything of what we saw in the first, 15 games of this past season. I don't think we're going to see a St. Joe's team like that at all next year.
Our small ball lineup is going to be one of arguably our that's our best lineup from last year minus Ryan Daly. Like that's the lineup he was going with.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, wow.
Like Cameron Brown was out there. Like folks, we can throw anything at any team with the way that Billy Lang is recruiting. Steven Daniels goes gross. Steven, are you saying gross because you think it's crazy that we have all these different looks for a lineup position or from a lineup perspective? Or are you just saying gross because you want us to move on to the Phillies, a team that's actually gross?
Can you tell me what's happening with Greg Foster Jr.? Is he?
Oh, well, remember we had Riley Frayne on from the Hawk newspaper.
He wasn't technically with the team currently.
And he's not looking like he is anymore, but we haven't heard anything of him transferring either.
He's still listed on the roster.
And I wonder if teams aren't interested in him.
I think he should just try and conform to play at St. Joe's.
This was a Gonzaga recruit.
I know.
He's a transfer from Gonzaga.
Maybe there was a reason why he transferred from Gonzaga.
Maybe. I wish that the school was forthcoming on why he isn't playing, but we'll never know that. If we did know, even the biggest, the guy most connected, the number one insider, he himself does not even know. So we're never going to know.
That's unfortunate because I feel like we should know. It's important to us.
I'm just going to say, I don't schmooze. Tony doesn't rub his elbows with the fans and everything, and I don't get those inside scoops. I'm an outsider. I'm a critic. I don't even want to be a critic. I'm just an unorthodox thinker when it comes to St. Joe's basketball, and that doesn't win you a lot of nice little scoops.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah, but I've never wanted to be a journalist. My thing for St. Joe's, my writing has always been opinion based. I give you opinions to make the team better. And every time I give an opinion, it's always right. Jimmy, when was I wrong once this season about St. Joe's basketball? Is there anything that you could point to where you say, wow, Tony didn't really get that prediction right, or the adjustments Tony was asking for actually were wrong?
I think the only thing that I could pick out is maybe our preseason predictions. And who would have thought that you'd have issues with Greg Foster and Ryan Daly getting hurt? Yeah. So I think that the only thing that was wrong is maybe you saying St. Joe's was a top 10 team and they ended up being 11th. Yeah.
11th in the fact that after they had won a round in the A10 tournament and things like that.
That's getting very minute there to pick anything that you predicted wrong.
But when I said, hey, they got to attack the rim more, guess what? They start attacking the rim more and they start winning games. Steven Daniels goes killing me. Phillies, Harper's heating up. Jim, let's go right into the Phillies. Tell me what's wrong with them. Oh, wait, first, hold on. I want to just say this. 2 weeks ago, I came on the show, and I was justified in saying, let's celebrate now before things get bad. And I didn't think things would get bad this quickly. And I don't think they're that bad, but we're really seeing the holes in this roster. And boy, is the bats are an issue for me. But Jim, I'm going to let you start first because I had a nice little rant about St. Joe's basketball. So I'm going to give you the floor. Talk about the Phillies. What are you seeing? What is worrying you?
All right, Tony, stop me whenever you want to interject, obviously.
No, of course. You could never stop me from interjecting.
So this team, 2 weeks ago, I said that there was too many gaps, right? I told you that. Too many gaps.
Who's calling you?
Just a friend. It's all right.
Are they trying to get on the show?
No.
Okay, good.
I said there's too many gaps, all right? 2 weeks ago. And guess what? We saw all these gaps. You were ranting and raving about how the Phillies were going to win 97 games or whatever this year.
I still think we can go 100.
We can still win in the 90s, yes. But we cannot hit with runners in scoring position. I got some numbers for us today. We are 5th from last with runners left in scoring position. That's 3.94 runners per game. That's almost 4 runners a game that we're leaving in scoring position. We leave all runners on base all the time. The numbers are skyrocketing. And here's the thing. The Dodgers are actually last with runners in scoring position, but guess what? They score 5 runs per game. We only score 3.5. The Phillies are having issues with the bats. It's not even really the pitching. Now, this past week we had 3 pitchers go on COVID protocol, so that kind of messed things up. But guess what? I saw some positives out of this. I saw Spencer Howard pitch 1 1/3 innings with 3 strikeouts. I saw people stepping up throughout this whole last series anyway. So the Phillies, they've had their struggles. They've had people getting hurt. Didi with the inflammation in his arm. Segura's now hurt with a quadricep strain. And then there's other issues with this team as well. No center fielder. Can't have a solid center fielder at all. Matt Moore is horrendous. I thought that Matt Moore wasn't going to be a good pitcher. There
is a reason why he was in Japan.
I've thought that he made me look like I was giving him the benefit of the doubt by saying he's not very good. He's horrendous. Needs to go.
Is he worse than Velasquez?
Well, we'll find out tomorrow night, won't we?
Is Velasquez starting?
Velasquez with the start. It gives Nola an extra day to
I don't care.
Recover after the 9 inning.
I don't care. We can't get Jim. Velasquez. We're talking about the same guy here.
So this leads me into one of the points I wanted to make tonight.
Jimmy, I watched him blow a save. That was 1 inning. How am I going to wait for 5 of them?
Tony, we lost a series to Gabe Kepler.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So
who's 10 and whatever.
So do you look at this series and say maybe the problem with the Phillies wasn't Gabe Kepler?
No.
Because
the problem was always Gabe Kepler.
I saw Joe Girardi leave a guy out on the mound after he let up a 3-run home run, and then he let up another 3-run home run. Do you know how often that happens? It happens once every 7 years that happens. That a pitcher gives up 2 3-run home runs in 1 inning.
Gabe Kepler needed to go. He was messing with the batting lineups too often. How often did we see he would pick a lineup and then he would change it the next day?
Tony, the players aren't playing well. They're not playing well together. They're the same players that Gabe had.
Yeah, and they weren't playing well back then either.
That's my point.
No. Here's the thing. Last year, the bats were fine. They were fine. Girardi proved that the bats were working under him. JT has played perfectly fine. Harper is getting hot. He is playing well.
What was our record last year?
The issue, that came down to the bullpen. And me and you sat on the show, and we did agree. I'm not saying that Kepler was the only one who was culpable for the issues. Of course, the general manager was, but they never did anything about it. So, of course, we can say that is an issue as well. But Kepler messed with the batting rotation too often. He never sat with a solidified group of guys. And quite frankly, he's a B-list guy. Girardi has won before. Kepler still hasn't. It's game 12 of the season. And we're talking about the San Francisco Giants, who haven't done anything since their miraculous run for 4 of those 3 years, or 4 of those 5 years. And we're talking about Kepler now because the Giants have a couple wins. Quite frankly, I don't care. He's a nobody. He was chased out of this town for good reason, and I don't want to see his face ever again. And that's perfectly fine. And if he goes on to win a World Series, great. Good for you. Andy Reid went on to win a World Series, a Super Bowl. We don't care because that's the past and it's done anyway. What am I going to do? Going to time travel? And the other thing that you said, which is now getting me angry, is the fact that you brought in numbers again, Jim. I understand numbers are important, and we need some form of numbers to quantify things in life, but not everything can be a stat. And I know, especially in baseball. Statistics. And I went off on the last episode. I'm going to do it again. I'm not actually going to go pop off, but I am going to say this. Not everything needs to be a number. Not everything, every argument in our lives needs to be a number. Sometimes it can be an eye test, and sometimes it can just be a fact. It doesn't need to be, that fact doesn't need to be quantified in a number in itself. For example, I know JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, they are good players. Gene Segura is playing great. Jim, what did I say? Move Gene Segura to the second in the rotation. Sure. It will help. And they did that. Now, that was because I think they were facing a lefty, and they moved him up. I believe that's what Girardi was doing. It was a couple days ago. But, let's be honest. McCutchen isn't good. And you could read me numbers till we're blue in the face about why the bats aren't playing well. But it might just come down to the fact that McCutchen's not getting on base, and he's the first hitter. And believe it or not, the first hitter is probably one of the most important positions. getting that early start, getting the runs going, getting the bats hot. He sets the tone for the game. Go back to the Washington Nationals. Who was their leadoff hitter? And that's going to bother me. Turner? Was it Turner?
Trey Turner.
Guy got on base all the time. That's what he was known for. Had absolute wheels, got on base, and hit well. We need a guy like that. And McCutchen's just not that.
Tony, I agree. I agree when you take a look and you see McCutchen's not playing well, that obviously he is a liability. But again, I take a look and I see runners in scoring position that aren't being scored. And I go to the stats because I want to see, all right, am I actually seeing the truth here? Am I actually seeing that the Phillies aren't hitting the base runners in? And guess what? They're in the bottom 5 of the league. That's all I care about. Not really the exact number. I don't give a darn toot about the exact number.
But the bats are going to warm up throughout the season. You can't, after last year, it's just almost the same lineup. We're a better hitting lineup just looking at the straight up players. Like Bohm is a better hitter.
I don't want to be under 500. I don't care about the rest of the season. I want the Phillies to play good baseball throughout the whole season.
I understand. The bats will warm up. We are not the worst batting team in the MLB. Talent-wise. We are not.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to warm up.
Sure.
However, we do need to increase if we want to make the playoffs. But we're not bottom 5.
I get worried about pitchers that do their jobs and only let up 3 runs throughout the whole game, or two or 3 runs throughout the whole game, and we can't get the bats going.
But when have the bats ever been going in early April in the cold? It's cold. I mean, it's freezing tonight. It's 55.
Plenty of teams do it. There's no excuse why we can't do it.
I'm fine with warming up. We're warming up. We're rolling into it. I'm going to read the chat real quick. Jimmy Daniels sitting next to me. Steven Daniels goes, Jimmy, I was saying that from the start. Wig Splitter, the Giants almost made the playoffs last year. They are an above average team. Moneyball says that the stats in baseball are important. The Giants were almost a playoff team last year. Great. So were the Phillies. They were almost, right? They were within that almost quantifier. And then Steven Daniels goes, yeah, I so agree with the first batter sets the tone for the game. See, Steven knows what I'm talking about.
Back to my Girardi point. It wasn't about Gabe Kapler being the guy for this team. My point is that Girardi isn't safe from criticism.
No, he's made mistakes.
He's made mistakes over the last couple nights, and I think it's been blatant. And I don't think necessarily that he was the answer that would fix the Phillies from the Gabe Kapler years.
Here's my issue. My real issue. Seriously. We're talking about all these issues that the Phillies have. And, yep, they have issues. And I predicted this from the start. I said it 2 weeks ago. We're going to be screaming about this team. Let me enjoy it. I literally said, let me enjoy it. And you never let me enjoy it. And now we're gnashing teeth and there's wailing in the darkness that is sub 500 baseball. And I just wanted you to let me have something, Jim. But you can't even let me have a week's worth of great Phillies baseball where Eric Franklin's chiming in saying the team's doing great, where everything's fantastic. No, instead you got to come in and raid on my parade. We understand what this team has. It has many issues. I was excited for this team 2 weeks ago. Now I'm not so much. And when we knew the inevitable was going to come, we were going to have a team that we were going to hate and that was going to struggle. And you know what we don't have to turn to, Jim? We don't have a minor league to turn to. Where are we plucking guys out of? Hey, we're in a cold spell. Let's bring up a guy for 20 games. Now, it's too early to do that in the season now. But come June, July, when we're struggling even harder, because we're going to bounce back from this. We're still floating around 800. But come July, when we're going to hit a real hard spell, because it's going to come from this team. You can just tell the bats are so up and down. Where are you going to pull from? There's no minor league guys to pull up. None on the top of my mind.
So this is what I saw from this last week. Because of the COVID protocol, we got Spencer Howard up, and he pitched the lights out. I thought that was really great, but then he had to go back down because they had Vince Velasquez starting, and it's just a mess.
How could you ever think that Vince Velasquez should be in the majors over Howard?
I don't know.
Unless you're just worried you don't want to bring him up too early.
I think they just want to develop Howard more. Moniak came in because we don't have a center fielder. I don't know if anybody that's listening to the show heard Adam Hazley left the team because for
I didn't know
unknown reasons. He announced it Joe Girardi announced it rather, and that they're not disclosing anything, but there have been reports that like he couldn't like withstand the pressure of being a top prospect or top pick, and he just hasn't been developed. And it looked like, you could see visibly that when he was playing, he wasn't really like 100% in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Scott Kingery come up. He pinched hit, didn't look that great, but he's still kind of trying to get back from that injury, that back injury from last year. So I said Moniak hit that home run opposite field. And then there's this guy playing shortstop for Didi, Nick Matan, who he had a triple, single, and a double. I believe he had like 3 hits in one game. He looks really good, and I think he's legit and like actually wants to play baseball, which is a nice contrast to what Adam Hazley was. So that's my scouting report on like the young guys that the Phillies are trying to groom. After that, I have no clue what's there. I have no clue what's behind all those players.
Breaking news, Jim has the final report from the minor league scouting. We have no players. We have no pride. We have nothing to look forward to. And that's about it. Minus some guy I've never heard of.
And Bryson Stott's still not ready yet, so I don't expect
I
to
don't
see
even
him.
know who that is either.
He's that number 1 pick that we had like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Vegas that Bryce was like hyping him up and everything.
He's a Bryce Vegas guy.
Yeah.
I forgot that Bryce is from Vegas.
Another shortstop though.
Okay, that's enough Phillies talk. I'm calling it. Gene Segura gets injured the other night, quad strain. Segura was playing well. Hate to see that. Oh, power rankings. Of course. Pulling up the power rankings because we need to talk about where the Phillies just keep being the struggle bus. Jim, don't look at the screen. You're going to guess where the Phillies find themselves on the power rankings, and here we go. Jimmy, where do you think our lovely Phillies find themselves on the power ranking of ESPN, the fake news website?
So we're second in the NL East. I'm going to say 16th.
21st.
We're second in the NL East, which is supposed to be one of the best.
And we're 21st in your heart. Previous rank, 14th. Aaron Nola, who per whatever writer wrote this, if you could even consider them a writer. Aaron Nola doesn't often get mentioned alongside Jacob deGrom or Garrett Cole, except for the year he was in for the Cy Young, and a couple of others as one of the best starters in that game, but maybe he should. That wasn't even a question mark. They go, maybe he should, period. He's 1 for 1 with a 2.19 ERA after pitching a shutout on Sunday, the first 9-inning shutout of his career. He had a 28-3 strikeout to walk ratio and has allowed one more inning. Poor blah 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 blah. Stats, numbers, figures, facts. Guess who's below us? One spot. Jim, I don't think that your NL East is so prestigious. 21st Phillies, 22nd Marlins, 24th Nationals. Atlanta, 10th. And you know who they have at 4th. The Braves at 7 and 6.
Or the Mets.
Or the Mets, sorry. At 7 and... So you get to be 7 and 6. You get to be 4th. And then you put the Yankees, who are 6 and 11, are 16th in your power ranking.
Oh, I don't get
the
this
Phillies,
at
who
all.
have beaten the Mets and who have beaten the Braves...
We're second in the NL East. How the Braves
9
are
and 9.
fourth.
That's a 21 team. They're 21. Jim, how the ESPN knows better than you, right? What do you know? You're in my basement.
I'm just shaking my head, everybody. I can't even focus on this.
You're just sitting in my basement, thinking you know more than something Schofield the fourth. You think you know more than him?
Yeah, I do. And I think that the fans in the chat know more than him, too.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Jim, I saved this one. We're rolling through the script today. I'm going to save Sixers for last because the game's going on right now. Can you do a score update for us while I get this article up?
Sure, definitely. Sixers right now, they are losing 21-8 to the Bucks.
Great.
So a 13-point deficit to start the first quarter.
And no Ben Simmons. Great. Okay, so Jim, don't look at my screen. For those who don't know, Jim can see my screen. Don't look at it.
Not looking.
Okay. This was an interesting article that I heard on a radio show, and so I'm going to read it now. It's from ProFootballTalk.com. Despite seismic changes in sports media, long reads persist. The question is whether anyone ever reads them or every word of them. Oh, it was on The Athletic. Oh, I might not be able to read it. Oh, I don't have an account. Man, that's funny. I would have read the whole thing. Okay. So The Athletic wrote this article about... Let me read the top of the page. Eagles reportedly treated Doug Pederson, quote, like a baby. There were several relevant and interesting nuggets in the article. Here they are. The Eagles reportedly treated former coach Doug Pederson like, quote, a baby, according to unnamed sources who claim that Pederson was beaten down by relentless second-guessing. In 2019, for example, after a Thursday night win at Green Bay, Pederson was grilled by owner Jeffrey Lurie, an analytics aficionado, over the fact that Pederson hadn't called more passes. Pederson was ridiculed and criticized for every decision, an unnamed source told TheAthletic.com. If you won by 3, that isn't enough. If you lost by a last-second field goal, you're the worst coach in history, said another unnamed source. The fact that Doug had the success he did with all the bleep going on in the building, sometimes I look at our Super Bowl rings and I'm like, holy cow, I don't know how he did it. Per the report, the undermining of Pederson began in only his second season, which ended with a Super Bowl victory. Prior to the start of the 2017 campaign, word spread through the organization of a 3-hour meeting between Lurie and defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. Multiple unnamed sources told TheAthletic.com that there was a feeling around the team that Lurie was vetting an in-house replacement for Pederson in the event the Eagles got off to a slow start. The article points to tensions between football and analytics, a dynamic hardly unique to the Eagles. One unnamed source described the team's analytics department to TheAthletic.com as a clandestine black ops department that doesn't answer to anyone except the owner. That's how it currently works in plenty of NFL front offices, and it's why so many coaches have embraced analytics. If they don't, the analytics employees tell ownership that if the coach had done what the analytics called for, the team would have won. Complicating matters in Philly is that owner Jeff Lurie is very involved in the draft preparations, as he always has been, but that's his right as the owner of the team to be as involved or uninvolved as he wants. With most of, if not all owners finding a way to state preferences when it comes to huge decisions, it's better if the owners actually have to put in the work. In Philadelphia, enough work was put in to win a Super Bowl. That's good news. The bad news is things have collapsed quickly. Chances are the failures in Philadelphia bear plenty of fingerprints. Jim, let's just say it. Jeff Lurie's a bad owner.
Yeah, that's apparent, especially with that article. But I think we all had that feeling based on how the last season went and how everything's kind of collapsed since the Super Bowl. You know, you could see that there was an owner that was making decisions
who's
that were
arrogant, who's cocky.
Yeah, the decisions very much from an arrogant, narcissistic.
Wouldn't go to the White House.
Yeah, well, that's not really the problem with the Eagles. The Eagles more is like they just made the wrong decisions. I don't know if getting rid of Doug was the right thing. A lot of people really feel that way. I think that Jeffrey Lurie was too tied to just feeling like he ran the team. And same thing with Howie. Howie is the same way too. They just make decisions that are just overreaching. You know, planning who the starting roster is each week. It's way above them. It's way above them. It should be Doug's decision back then, but it's just too much.
Jimmy, I'm going to cut you off right here. Analytics should not run your operation. Analytics should be a tool used to make good decisions. But anyone with a decision science major knows that you can crunch numbers all you want, but at the end of the day, what matters is the decisions that you make. And not all of it is always numbers based. Companies make decisions that are important that aren't always by the numbers. Being a visionary, being innovative, doesn't always mean that you go by the numbers. Sometimes you're finding things that aren't even in the numbers. Why? Because analytics are being run off historical data. always, to predict the future.
Sure.
And sometimes it can't predict something it can't see. And if the future isn't in the past historical data, you're never going to be able to project what's coming next. And some coaches, I think like Pederson, are not always analytics driven. They are visionary and they think forward, and it isn't always backed up by the numbers. But it doesn't mean they're wrong.
Sure.
It's just you can't see it through the lens of analytics.
Well,
And to say that Pederson didn't make analytical decisions would be foolish. Look at how he goes on the fourth downs all the time. It's not like he was ignoring them.
no.
If anything, he was the one who was probably the most balanced about it.
And I think about this, the NFL just passed all these rules, experimental rules for next year, and there's a whole breakdown on all that. Think about that. Every year the game changes. They add new rules. They change the rules. So that leaves what? Our confidence interval for the analytics says what? 96%? So there's 4% of the game right there that you're not accounting for. It'll go against the analytics. There's going to be some. That's where the difference is made up in who wins the Super Bowl and who doesn't, who goes to the playoffs and who doesn't. And I think that's kind of where Doug was successful. He was able to do things like that. And you could see after the Super Bowl, Doug changed completely. And that felt like it was not because of Doug, but more because of ownership and who was running the team.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. This is the big point. I think I would rather have Jerry Jones as my owner.
I'm not going to go there.
I just did. And you know why? Because Jerry Jones at least doesn't get bogged down in the numbers. And at least Jerry Jones, I have a feeling, knows more about football than Jeff Lurie. Like actual football knowledge. And who knows how to grab attention better? Jerry Jones. Who's the guy who people like? Jerry Jones. At least Jerry Jones is loyal to his guys. Some would say he's too loyal. Some would say he's a little too slow to make decisions. But it's better than the coach who backstabs the winner of your only Super Bowl. Jim, how can you look at this and say otherwise? I just read that article, and he sounds worse than Jerry Jones. That sounds worse than Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones would never backstab anyone. He would never ridicule a player on his team or a coach who won him a Super Bowl, who was a former player, who was the prodigy of one of the coaches, one of your greatest coaches of all time, one of the most beloved men in the NFL, Andy Reid.
Did he not backstab Jason Garrett?
He gave Jason Garrett 8 years. That's a long time for a coach that was 800. That's where I would say, okay, he was loyal to a fault. 8 years for a coach who never won a Super Bowl, who was 500 his entire career. Okay, that's a justified firing. Doug Pederson, year 3. Jim, Doug Pederson, year 3. 2 years after a Super Bowl with a quarterback who doesn't know what the heck he's doing anymore. Are you kidding me?
Neither of those are a good option as an owner. Both of them overreach way too much than they should. There's no good choice there.
I'm listening to Jeff Lurie thinks he's some egghead who thinks he knows the numbers, but he couldn't even look at those data models and understand what was going on. He just thinks it's fun and cool because they're numbers, and everyone else is doing it.
I think what happens is he puts all his money into data analytics, and then he gets a report from them and sees what he thinks is wrong, and he believes that it's Doug's decision making. I'm not protecting Jeffrey Lurie. I don't think that he's a good owner. He brought a Super Bowl, which was nice, but
no,
again,
he didn't.
Jerry Jones, yeah, well, I mean, it was a collaborative effort from everybody top down. You don't win a Super Bowl just by one person.
I might never acknowledge it now. It's just such a dirty move that I read that and it's just, are you kidding me? This is why Philadelphia fans don't have Super Bowl rings on every finger. It is. It's because this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, it's the same thing we said about the Sixers. Remember, I don't know, maybe it was 9 months ago or 10 months ago that we said that the Sixers ownership, they don't have a read on the city.
They don't either.
But to the Sixers ownership credit, they brought in the right guys. They brought in Daryl Morey. They brought in Doc, and they kind of stepped away. And I feel like I haven't heard about Sixers ownership.
And it's worked.
And it looks great.
What do the Steelers do really well? They are loyal to good coaches. Mike Tomlin's only won 2 Super Bowls. Doug Pederson has 1. That's only one difference. And after you win your first, the next one isn't that much of a difference between the two. 2 versus 1 is much different than 1 versus 0. That's a fact.
Yeah.
The Steelers are loyal to Mike Tomlin, and for good reason. Doug Pederson had his first losing season and got fired. Pete Carroll went through losing seasons. He has 1 Super Bowl. They kept him around. I said this when they did it. I'm saying it now. Good teams don't do that. Good teams stay. And because who'd you replace him? Who's this guy? Have we not? I haven't heard anything about him.
You know what I've heard about
under a rock?
You know what I've heard about Nick Sirianni?
What?
He's out there playing rock, paper, scissors with potential draft picks to see if they're competitive. That's what I've heard.
That's lame.
At the combine. He's playing rock, paper, scissors with them to see if they're competitive. Everybody would say, oh, that's fun. That's a fun thing. I don't care about that. I want you to be my head coach and get out there and criticize all these players because I want the best one. I want the best one for the team.
People get what they deserve and they get it good and hard. And Philadelphia fans spoken. They were done with him and they're about to get a couple years of pain. Here, everyone, come close. Come close to the screen. Come here. If you're listening on your iPhone, turn it up just a little bit. Come here. I got to tell you something. Doug Pederson is going to be, the years of Doug Pederson will always be better than whatever is coming up next. So be prepared. Maybe you want to go cheer for another team. Maybe you should go cheer for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they might be more exciting to watch this year, honestly. They won't even name Jalen Hurts the starter, Jim. They still haven't.
Yep, Nick Sirianni. Every position is open.
Why did you get rid of Wentz? Look, you're not going to make any friends in the locker room if your first thing is to go and turn to the quarterback that they just got rid of their other one for and go, yeah, you might not be the starter. Are you kidding me? This is just the writing on the wall. When Steven Daniels is angry in October, Steven, don't say I didn't warn you. I'm warning you now. We're talking about the Phillies in despair. Get ready. The Eagles are going to be worse. And the Eagles, they always will drive the conversation in this town. The only team that you have hope for is the Sixers. And, Jim, they dropped a bummer of a game last night.
Oh, but it was exciting at the end, though.
Oh, yes, it was. For those who didn't see, Joel Embiid grabs a rebound off a missed free throw and launches the ball, throws it with one hand, launches it across the court, and it literally rims out. It was unbelievable.
And not only that, but leading up to it, we did the whole, foul the other player, have them shoot 2 free throws, and then chuck up a 3. We hit the 3 twice in order to make it such a close game. If we didn't have Joel hit a 3 and then Furkan hit a 3, that wouldn't have even been that close of a thing, Joel would have just chucked it and it wouldn't have even mattered. But it almost went in and we almost went into overtime. But again, that's just almost, and that doesn't really count. So
Harrison Morris goes, thoughts on Mickey Moniak, Tony. Jimmy, tell him that we already talked about.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back, rewind to about the 10-minute mark, and that's when we got into the Phillies. Now, I think we both said Mickey Moniak seems to be shining a little bit with that big home run that he had, but I would put him up on the trading block if we want to get a real center fielder out there. That's just my own personal take. Tony?
I'm not opposed to improving the center field position, even though, was he the one that had that nice first catch?
The diving catch, yeah.
That was nice. I saw that.
First pitch of the game with Wheeler.
Yeah. That was a nice catch.
That was great.
He tracked that ball down, no problem.
And I had a friend tell me that McCutchen needs to be playing center if we don't have a center fielder. And I said to him, there's no way McCutchen catches that ball.
There's no way he chases that
No
down.
way.
Could Bryce play center?
Bryce
Maybe.
could play center.
But I don't think he wants to. I honestly, I wouldn't want to put him out there anyway. Like, I don't want to make him unhappy having him run around.
Yeah, no, I think his position's definitely in right.
Harrison continues and goes, I was there. Embiid's shot was nuts. By far the most excited reaction I've ever heard for a missed shot. I can only imagine if he hit it. It was sick.
If he hits it, we win. There's no way we don't win in overtime.
Oh, yeah. That's so demoralizing. But here's the thing. Let's talk about that game. The Suns are a good team. They're second in the West, I believe. And, excuse me, I'm going to have to burp. Jimmy, talk.
Yeah, so they're actually second in the league, but okay.
They're second in the West, and we didn't have Seth Curry, and we didn't have Tobias Harris, and we didn't have Ben Simmons, and we still only lost by 3. I'm confident after that. I know it's unfortunate that they lost. It is unfortunate they lost. Just like how you see Howard Eskins tweet about Simmons saying that he was too scared to play Curry before the game, and our friend Quinn Davis was saying that this was a low shot. Check out Quinn Davis, basketballinsiders.com. But Quinn was saying, this is Howard trying to get attention. But sure enough, Steph goes out there and scores like 50 on us.
Yeah, of course.
So kind of proving Howard's point. But yeah, that game without Simmons, I think if Simmons is in the game, we give Curry a harder time.
Oh, definitely.
And then without Simmons, Tobias, or Seth, I mean, there's no way you're going to beat the Suns. I was surprised they even kept it that close with those guys missing.
But here's the thing. That game was within our reach. We could have won that game. There are certain points where I look and I'm like, oh my God, this game should have been won. We missed 5 straight free throws in the fourth quarter. Matisse Thybulle had 0 points. If he just hits 1 3, you're looking at overtime. You're looking at Embiid doesn't even have to do that, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe it shakes out differently, but you have Devin Booker held to 19 points in the game. They showed a stat on NBC Sports. He averages 37.6 points in Philadelphia against us. So we had all of these things lined up for us to actually win this game with such a limited roster. And that's what gets me because, you could taste the victory. But
I'm just not freaking about it because I know with a full roster, Suns don't worry me. I'm not scared of them in the playoffs.
Oh, no way.
The Jazz, they don't scare me. There's one team that scares me, the Lakers.
I don't know.
And they're not even right. And Harden's starting from ground zero now.
What did I say a few weeks ago,
Insane.
Tony?
Yeah, you're right.
Hamstring, you have to just stop playing. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're never going to get back to healthy. He doesn't have that
step. He doesn't have that first step that he used to have. It makes him way less elusive. Like James Harden is a much more graceful player.
Sure.
The way he maneuvers, he's very skilled, and not having your hamstring hurts your ability to be that graceful out on the court.
And for those that don't know, your hamstring, it's really helpful for being, quick movements and everything, explosive. You explode off your hamstrings, and it's just like, if he doesn't have that, and I don't know which one, whether it's right or left leg, but if he doesn't have that step, either way, it's going to be hard to get around people. It's going to be hard to have his moves that he always does. And, that's why he's sitting out now. And you have the Nets, like, Kevin Durant isn't playing consistently. James Harden's now out for indefinite, timeline. And Kyrie, who knows with him? He's out for personal reasons, which seems like every week. So
I wouldn't be surprised if, look, there's a world we live in where the Nets with Kyrie and Kevin Durant beat the Sixers in the playoffs, even without Harden. I think that world exists. If Kevin Durant plays as well as he's ever played in the playoffs.
You're saying beat the Sixers in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even without Harden.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, you're looking at Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I mean,
they're good players.
It's a good team no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point. However, much higher chance of beating them. Harrison goes, you got to think that the Suns are somewhat motivated chasing that Pacific Division title with the Lakers having injury issues and Clippers being a bit of a dumpster fire could provide them with motivation. And the Sixers didn't even play well, and they were in it the entire time. I think that sums it up pretty well. But I was saying this when let's go back to the Kevin Durant part. I was saying that because it's like, look, in a perfect world, even without Harden, or an imperfect world, I guess, even without Harden, the Nets are a dangerous team. Kyrie Irving can hit any shot on any part of the court, and Kevin Durant can hit any shot at any part of the court at any time he wants to. And I don't think Kevin Durant will be 100%. We've seen many things to show that he's still battling injury issues and that he's still having just a general hard time of getting into the rhythm, right? There's a rhythm when you play every day. You get used to playing, you get athletically used to it, you breathe. Like Joel looks like he's back in the rhythm, right? He was out for many weeks, and now he's back in it. He's scoring 38, 35 points any given night. He scored 38 last night. He's all of a sudden back right in that rhythm, right where he was. Kevin Durant, his is more choppy. At least Joel's injury was like 2 weeks out, and then I'm back. Kevin Durant's like, I'm out one night, I'm back one night, I'm out again, I'm back, I'm out, I'm again. Like, you're not going to get in a rhythm like that. And The only way that I see the Nets getting into a rhythm is Kevin Durant plays the way he's playing now, off on. And then for the week before the playoffs, he plays every game. And then he uses the first round of the playoffs to get into shape because they're going to be the 2 seed. They're not going to play anyone difficult. And then after that, they have to play hard. And if they get Harden back, they get him back. But if they don't, they're just going to have to beat teams by himself. And if Kevin Durant's the greatest player in basketball, like he thinks he is, he'll take a team with Kyrie Irving to the playoffs just like LeBron did. LeBron took a team just like that with the very same player next to him.
Okay.
I'm just saying that this can happen. This Nets team is good.
I know, but I just don't see it with this Nets team. I know they got Steve Nash. I don't
care about that. Like that's not influencing me at all.
But I just don't. Man, this Sixers team just feels like it's
Magic.
Right. It feels like it's the year. It feels like it's the
I
right
agree.
year.
No, it does. Trust me. Look, if they beat the Nets, there's no one in their way. They beat the Nets. They could show up against the Lakers. I still think they're the favorite.
Do I say it, Tony?
What?
Do I say the one team that I think could be in the way?
Say it. No, don't. I already know what you're going to say, but okay, say it.
The Miami Heat.
I knew you were going to say it. Not in my way. They're out of my way. I don't care about the Miami Heat. They're not going to beat us. We're a better team. They can't even match up with our size.
I know.
And they don't even have a center.
I know, but you know how I'm partial to the Heat. That's really it.
Get out of here.
We're going to Miami.
Bienvenido a Miami. Anything else about the Sixers? What's the score?
They're down 13 right now, 45-32. But they're closing the gap, it seems
okay,
like.
Good. How's my boy George Hill doing? Real quick before we move on.
George Hill's got 4 points in 5 minutes.
Nice.
And he started tonight, so.
Picking it up. Okay, so I'm reading this article in Mid-Major Madness. We're bringing this back to college basketball. We're closing out with a fun little article. It's titled, All Right, Here's Your Mid-Major Super League. This is by Greg Mitchell. Maybe you've heard of the European Soccer League. Jim, did you hear about the European Soccer League?
Yeah, I'd say it was signed in contract like April 17th, April 20th, that Super League.
Yeah, now it's disbanded.
Yeah.
Maybe you've seen it crop up on your timeline and couldn't care less. In either case, it has nothing to do with college basketball. But it's the offseason, so let's force feed it into our world. Undercutting the little guy, taking away the potential for Davids to beat Goliath, that runs counter to what makes mid-major basketball fun. It's a bad idea, but we can't miss a chance to think of a list of 15 super programs and get yelled at for who we didn't include. Okay, so they're going to put 15 mid-major small college basketball teams together to make a super league in the sense that like, oh, if we put these 15 teams together, they'll compete with like the Big East.
Okay.
So here you have it. The 15 mid-major schools that would be the founding members of the mid-major super league. Who would we grievously leave out? So these are the teams that they're going to include. Gonzaga. It goes without saying, the team that isn't a mid-major but plays in a mid-major league, or should, be a founding member of the College Basketball Super League, period. But if we're basing the list on teams this site covers, the little school from Spokane is the chairperson. BYU. Michigan, Oklahoma State, Florida are just three of the crowd of well-known programs that don't have as many NCAA tournament appearances as the Cougars, which have 30. Throw in the national following and it's a cinch. Dayton. One of the clearer picks. The Flyers have historical success. 18 tournaments, a great social media following account, who cares, and a huge arena. VCU. After modest success in the 80s, the Rams have now had nationally competitive teams under 5 different head coaches since Jeff Capel got it in 2004. Nights at the Siegel Center would be mouthwatering for those juicy broadcast rights. Loyola Chicago. Recency bias? Of course. The Ramblers have big-time NCAA tournament history bookended by decades of not much else. But do you really think a money-hungry endeavor would ignore a market like Chicago? He's got a point. Here's the next one, Jim. St. Joseph's University.
Let's go.
There have been some lean years on Hawk Hill, but Phil Martelli had St. Joe's established as a mid-major power for decades. Mitchell? Yeah, hello? I don't have a doorbell drop. I would hit the doorbell.
Ding.
St. Joe's. Here's a little secret. St. Joe's was a mid-major before Phil Martelli. I'd hate to rain on your parade, but, we went to the Final Four in 1958. So we have Dr. Jack Ramsey. It's not just Phil. See, this is what these young kids get in the thing. I'm going to run about Phil Martelli. Here we go. We're going to click, clack on my computer keyboard. Oh, they're mid-major with Phil Martelli. Phil Martelli. But what about that guy, Jack McKinney? Dr. Jack Ramsey. What about those guys? What about Jim Lynam? What about Billy Lang?
Jim Lynam.
The
leprechaun.
But it was nice to see St. Joe's on this list. And you can't ignore the East Coast. And we are the best team. Name another mid-major in our area that's better than us. Not LaSalle. Not Fordham. Not URI. Not Northeastern. Not BU. Not Lehigh. Not Bucknell. Not Mason. That's it. We're the mid-major of this area. Not Duquesne. Not Princeton. Not Rider. Maybe Penn. Put Penn in the Super League, please.
I could see Penn.
Temple.
I don't know.
American's not a power conference.
I don't think Temple.
You don't think they're more?
If you look at the all-time record, like head-to-head, Temple and St. Joe's, I'm pretty sure.
No, Temple has a speed.
By what? Like 5 games?
No, like 50.
No way.
Look it up.
Oh man.
Dude, the
fact check.
The 90s were crazy. Temple won so many games. Temple was the all-time leader in Big 5 wins. It's all John Chaney. It's ridiculous.
Dang. I didn't realize that. I swore when I looked it up.
Keep Googling. I'm not telling you to stop.
I swore when I looked it up previously that it was much closer than that.
Keep looking it up. I'm going to read the other schools that are in here. Utah State, San Diego State, New Mexico, UNLV, Western Kentucky, Murray State, St. Mary's, New Mexico State, Grand Canyon. A lot of West Coast teams. We have VCU, Dayton, St. Joe's. Those are the East Coast teams, but it's really West Coast heavy. We could find an East Coast team to throw in there. That's not, well, I don't know. Maybe all the East Coast teams are power conference teams, and that's the reason why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you go down the Eastern Seaboard, it's like Villanova, Syracuse, all the Big East. Like, that's probably why. We just have better basketball around here. It's fine. I can live with it. Are you not finding your statistics?
I can't find the stat on St. Joe's.
It's okay. We'll end it.
I will find it, though. I will find it one day.
We're going to end the show on that disappointment. As Top Gear used to say. And with that disappointment, back to the studio. Jim, thanks for coming in today. It was lovely.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I enjoyed my time here on the show.
Of course. And
live on the show, by the way, St. Joe's is 63-75 against Temple.
So Temple's 10.
12 games, yep.
Okay. That's less than the 50 I said. But okay. At least we had closure on that statistic. And to all of those who are listening to us on YouTube, thanks for listening. If you're not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe to the show and double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Yes, that's right. We go live every Thursday to complain about the Philadelphia Phillies. But that's okay. That's what we love to do here at Tony's Takes. If you can't listen to us on YouTube, check out our podcast on Apple Podcasts. It is literally just this live version on Apple Podcasts, the recorded version, you could say. Just search Tony's Takes and you'll see the lovely logo, which is displayed on the YouTube channel. Well, it's displayed on our Apple Podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and double-click the notification bell. Oh, wait, that's for YouTube. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. All 5-star reviews get read out loud on the show, and that's if you leave a written 5-star review. Also, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Once again, that's at Tonys_takes. And finally, email all takes and questions to the mailbag to have them read on the show. The mailbag's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. That's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. For me and Jim, we are really appreciative that all of you took the time out of your busy nights to spend it with us. And we look forward to seeing everyone right here on YouTube next week, 7 o'clock. You've been listening to Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.